Chase Hooper, Clay Guida. Clay Guida is one of those OGs I talked to you about. Has a lot of history in the octagon. I think he's in the Hall of Fame for one or two of his fights, at least one of them. And then you look at Chase Hooper. Clay Guida's 42 years old, by the way. Chase Hooper's 25. But the big thing I noticed in this fight is what Chase Hooper's been doing lately. And I feel like him, too, just like Njokuani, a lot of times the weight cut really slows you down. So since he's moved up to 155, looked a little sucked out at the weigh-ins. I think he's a big growing guy, growing boy, if you want to call him that. But since he's moved up, a decision against Nick Fury and then 2 stoppages. Jordan Levitt and Borsharev looked impressive in both of those fights. It looked like he grew up. So I don't know if it's going to be a good night for Clay Guida. Then I was wondering, what are the odds going to be for this fight? And huge underdog. Clay's actually might be the biggest underdog on the card. And then you look at Clay, has had a very long career, 18-18 in the UFC. I believe a former Strikeforce champion when he beat Josh Thompson. 2 losses in a row. At 42, you're fighting a 25-year-old. Father Time's got to catch up to him at some point. But could be a live dog if he can out-grapple Chase Hooper. But I think Chase Hooper probably submits him on the ground, stops him on the feet. Definitely not a good night for Clay Guida. Biggest underdog on the card, plus 700, plus 750. So, again, him too. You're picking him. You're betting with emotion. It's not a smart bet. Maybe, I don't even know if the 1.5 is good in that one. The over or the under, that's definitely an unpredictable fight. Clay could be dancing, running around the whole fight. It could be Chase chasing him. But definitely Chase Hooper in that. I saw, too, Chase Hooper actually submitted him with a calf slicer 2 years ago. So they have felt each other. They have grappled against each other. No punches, but Chase has already finished him. I think Chase is going to finish him in this one. Definitely huge underdog. Stay away from that one. If you're crazy, you sprinkle that in somewhere, but I don't know about that one. Then Michael Chiesa, Max Griffin. Now, years ago, this one would have been an easy fight to pick. I think you would have been like Chiesa all day, but now Chiesa was on a streak, hit that little rough patch, and then his only win recently is Tony Ferguson. We've seen what happened with Tony Ferguson, so he's one of the losses in Tony Ferguson's losing streak. Definitely not a win that tells me that you're still ready to do things in the octagon. Max Griffin, also old. So what was Chiesa? 37. So another thing that I saw on this card, Max Griffin, 39, 8-8 in the UFC. He's been doing the win one, lose one for a little bit. Don't know how he beat Jeremiah Wells. But I think Jeremiah Wells, too, getting old. Like, there's that one statistic of champions. And now this is only, granted, only champions, but champions over 35 are like under heavyweight. Maybe John Jones skewed it if you add in heavyweight, but under heavyweight are like 2-30 as far back as we can go, where they do not win title fights. So I think that tells you a lot about even the competitive age of these lower weight classes. Once you start getting over 35, and a lot of the guys on this card are over 35, you start to decline a little bit. And I think that's where Chiesa and Max Griffin are. So this is a pick'em. I know the odds are saying it's a pick'em. What do they have? Chiesa minus 125. Griffin a slight underdog at 105. I know this fight's obviously going to look like it's going to go to a decision. Both are capable of pulling off a finish, but more than likely, I don't know about that. I feel like Chiesa gets submitted by good grapplers. I don't know if Griffin is a good grappler. Probably has a striking advantage, but Chiesa's weird with that. Some nights he looks great with his striking. Some nights he looks terrible. So we'll see what happens here. It's also going to come down to age and who's ready to hang it up. So I think this could be one of those cards where we see a couple of guys last fights on this UFC 310 card. I could see a couple of guys potentially putting their gloves down in the octagon. Maybe one of these two. So obviously a lot of fighters are going to ride it till the wheels fall off, but both getting up there in age. I want to pick with my emotion as well as who I think is going to win the fight. I'm going to go with Chiesa. I like Chiesa, spoken to him a lot in the past. Definitely root for him when he fights. I'm going to go Chiesa on that one. Wouldn't be surprised if Griffin wins it, though.